Humanity stands accused of violating Galactic Compact Article 716, prohibited military advancement, announced Counselor Vexher, voice reverberating through the chamber. The punishment is immediate quarantine and technological regression. Frost's expression remained impassive despite the whispers rippling through the alien audience. She was the last diplomat Earth had. The others, all 17 of them, had been executed 3 days ago in what the Council called a regrettable security incident. "Before you pass judgment," Frost said, her voice carrying unexpected authority for a being from such a young species, "I request the right of evidence. Show the Assembly what humanity supposedly did." A murmur of surprise spread through the chamber. The right of evidence was rarely invoked. It compelled the Council to reveal their full case. "Granted," said Vexher reluctantly. "Display the Proxima incident." The chamber darkened as a holographic projection appeared. A human military vessel engaging what appeared to be an unarmed Mrekti transport ship. The human vessel fired repeatedly, destroying the transport. Thousands of Mrekti civilians dead. This occurred at 16 locations across 3 sectors, continued Vexher. Unprovoked human aggression resulting in 94,000 civilian casualties. Frost didn't flinch. "Replay the incident. Magnify Quadrant 7. The Council shifted uncomfortably, but galactic law required compliance. The projection zoomed in. "There," Frost pointed. "That energy signature. It's not consistent with a civilian transport." She stepped forward, eyes flashing with cold determination. "Those weren't civilian transports. They were biological weapons platforms disguised as refugee ships, headed for Earth colonies." The chamber erupted in shouts and protests. Frost raised her voice above the chaos. "We knew the attack was coming. We knew who authorized it." Her gaze locked with Vexher's luminous form. "What you didn't show is what happened before. The Mrekti massacre of New Jakarta. 2 million human civilians, including children, dead from engineered pathogens." She tapped her wrist device, overriding the chamber's projection system. New images appeared. Horrific scenes of human settlements, bodies contorted in agony. "You're not putting humanity on trial today," Frost announced, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. "We're putting the Council on trial." The chamber doors slammed open. 300 human observers entered, each wearing the black uniform of Earth's Special Diplomatic Corps, each carrying the distinctive silver case that every species in the galaxy had learned to fear. "The evidence we've gathered proves Council complicity in genocide against humanity," Frost continued. "You thought we would break. You thought wrong." The human observers positioned themselves throughout the chamber, cases still closed. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Vexher, his luminous form pulsing with agitation. Frost smiled thinly. "You're about to find out what happens when humanity's rage is unleashed." The chamber went silent as she tapped her wrist device again. The main projection shifted to display intercepted communications between Council members and Mrekti Military Command. "For 6 months we've been gathering evidence," Frost said. "After the New Jakarta massacre, we didn't rush to retaliate. We investigated. We found the truth." The communications scrolled across the display, plans for a coordinated attack on human settlements, discussions of humanity's potential threat to Council authority, orders to make the attacks appear as isolated incidents rather than a coordinated genocide. "Impossible," gasped one of the counselors. "These communications are protected by quantum encryption. Humanity has always excelled at breaking codes," Frost replied coolly. "Just as we've excelled at developing technologies you believed beyond our capabilities." She nodded to the human observers. As one, they opened their silver cases, revealing sophisticated data terminals that immediately linked to the chamber's systems. Each of these terminals contains the complete evidence package being transmitted simultaneously to every world in Council space. The unfiltered truth of what happened at New Jakarta. The Council's direct involvement in attempted genocide. Vexher's luminous form dimmed with alarm. "This is a violation of Council sovereignty." Guards seized them. Security forces moved toward the humans, weapons raised. Frost remained calm. "I wouldn't," she warned, "unless you want to explain to your citizens why you murdered diplomatic observers after evidence of your crimes was made public." The guards hesitated, looking to the Council for guidance. Vexher signaled them to stand down. "What do you want?" he asked, voice tight with restraint. "Justice," Frost replied simply. accountability for the 2 million humans murdered under council orders, and a new relationship between humanity and the galaxy, one based on truth, not fear. She stepped closer to the council dais. You feared our potential. You saw our rapid advancement and decided to eliminate us before we could challenge your authority. But in doing so, you created exactly what you feared most. Outside the chamber, alarms began to sound. A junior council aide rushed in, whispering urgently to vex her. The councilor's form flickered with shock. Human warships have appeared throughout council space, he announced, voice strained. At every major transit hub alongside our defense platforms, within weapons range of key worlds. Frost nodded. Insurance. Not one ship has powered weapons. Not one has made any aggressive move. They are simply observing, just as we've been observing you for years. She turned to address the entire chamber. The council believed they knew what humanity is capable of. They're about to discover how wrong they are. The other representatives shifted nervously, many already receiving reports from their homeworlds about the sudden appearance of human vessels in their systems. Today, the galaxy faces a choice, Frost continued. Acknowledge the truth and work with us to build something better than the council's lies. Or continue denying, and face humanity's full response to attempted genocide. She let her gaze sweep the chamber, meeting the eyes and sensory organs of dozens of species. They're scanning for us, reported Lieutenant Takahashi from the tactical station. Our cloak is holding, but they're being thorough. Reed nodded grimly. Any word from Director Frost? Nothing since she entered the council chamber. All comms went dark 30 minutes ago. Reed checked the mission clock. The diplomatic team should have reported in by now. Something had gone wrong, sir. Takahashi's voice lowered. What if this is it? What if the council has finally decided to move against us? Reed didn't answer immediately. The rumors had been circulating for months. Whispers that certain council factions believed humanity was advancing too quickly, becoming too unpredictable. Earth's rapid recovery from the New Jakarta massacre had frightened them. Humans weren't supposed to survive, let alone rebuild and strengthen their position. We follow protocol, Reed finally said. If Frost doesn't signal within the next 10 minutes, we implement Lazarus protocol. The crew exchanged glances. Lazarus meant war. On the bridge view screen, one of the hegemony destroyers altered course, heading directly toward their position. They've found us, Takahashi whispered. Reed's comm unit chimed, a single pulse in an encrypted pattern. The signal from Frost, but not the all-clear they expected. It's the execution code, Reed said, throat tight. The council has ordered Earth's containment. He entered his authorization into the ship's command console. Initiate Lazarus. Tactical, bring weapons online. Communications, transmit the black flag to all human outposts and vessels. As the emissary powered up its systems, dropping its stealth field, Reed addressed his crew. The council believes they know what humanity is capable of. They're about to discover how wrong they are. Across human space, vessels large and small received the black flag signal. Military ships activated hidden weapons systems. Civilian transports transformed into combat platforms. Mining stations revealed missile batteries. Every human settlement implemented emergency protocols developed after the New Jakarta massacre. Protocols designed for this exact scenario. In the judgment chamber, Ambassador Frost watched as the 7 high counselors deliberated her evidence. The human observers stood motionless, silver cases still unopened. The alien representatives whispered nervously among themselves. Your accusations are grave, Vexer finally said, but your evidence is circumstantial. The council cannot be held responsible for actions taken by the Mrekti hegemony. I never said the Mrekti acted alone, Frost replied calmly. Open data packet Omega-9. The projection changed, displaying intercepted communications between High Counselor Zevnar and Mrekti Military Command. Plans for the attack on human colonies. Strategies for making it appear as isolated terrorist action rather than council-sanctioned genocide. Impossible, gasped Zevnar, his luminous form flickering with agitation. These are fabrications. The encryption was impressive, Frost acknowledged, but humanity has always excelled at breaking codes. We've known about your plans for months. She turned to address the entire chamber. The council feared our potential. They feared what we might become. So they attempted to exterminate us quietly, using the Mrekti as proxies. When that failed, they tried to brand us as the aggressors. A sudden commotion erupted at the chamber entrance as Council security forces tried to block the arrival of a new figure, a tall, scarred human male in a simple gray uniform. Director Rivera, Frost acknowledged as the man pushed past the guards and joined her on the platform. The Director of Earth Intelligence, whispered representatives, shock evident in their voices. Rivera rarely left Earth and never appeared in public. I thought you might need this, Rivera said, handing Frost a small data crystal. The final piece. Frost inserted the crystal into her wrist device. The chamber's projection shifted again, now displaying something that caused gasps throughout the assembly. Internal Council security footage of the regrettable incident that had killed 17 human diplomats 3 days earlier. The footage clearly showed it was not an accident, but a carefully planned execution ordered by Counselor Zevnar himself. Still circumstantial? Frost asked, her voice deadly quiet. Vexher's luminous form dimmed noticeably. These are serious accusations that require investigation. We're past investigations, Rivera interrupted. You've had your chance for peaceful resolution. He touched his own wrist device. Throughout the chamber, warning signals sounded as representatives received urgent communications from their homeworlds. Human warships have just appeared in every key system in Council space, Rivera announced. Not as aggressors, but as witnesses. They're broadcasting the evidence of Council crimes to every world under your control. The chamber erupted into chaos as representatives demanded explanations from the Council, many already receiving reports of unrest on their homeworlds as citizens viewed the evidence. You've destabilized the entire galaxy, accused Vexher, luminous form pulsing with rage. No. Frost replied calmly. We've revealed the truth. What happens next depends on how the galaxy responds to that truth. Rivera stepped forward. The Council has existed for millennia, by manipulating emerging civilizations, eliminating those you couldn't control, guiding others into dependence. Humanity was just your latest target. And now? Asked Zevnar, his tone somewhere between defiance and fear. Now the galaxy decides, Frost replied. Every species now has access to the unfiltered evidence. Every world can see how the Council has manipulated them. The choice of what happens next belongs to them. On the emissary, Commander Reed received new orders from Earth Command. The message was simple. Maintain position, do not engage unless attacked, and continue broadcasting the evidence package to all systems. They're really doing it, Takahashi said in awe. Taking down the entire Council without firing a shot. Reed nodded, watching as the hegemony destroyers that had been approaching now hung motionless, clearly receiving the same transmissions being broadcast throughout Council space. The most powerful weapon humans have isn't our technology, Reed replied. It's the truth. Back in the Judgment Chamber, the Council's authority was visibly crumbling. Representatives who had been silent for fear of Council reprisal now spoke openly, demanding explanations, threatening to withdraw from Council governance. You've destroyed everything, Vexher told Frost, his voice barely audible above the growing chaos. We've freed the galaxy from your manipulation, she corrected. You tried to contain humanity because you feared our potential. Now you'll see what that potential truly is. Rivera's wrist device chimed with an incoming transmission. Earth Command reports multiple systems have already declared independence from Council authority. The Merekti hegemony is fracturing as subordinate species rebel. Frost nodded, watching as more representatives left the chamber, rushing to contact their homeworlds. And so it begins, she said softly. The reckoning. Outside the Council headquarters, crowds had gathered, beings of hundreds of species watching public displays of the evidence being broadcast from human ships. The carefully maintained narrative of Council benevolence was shattering in real time. What now? Rivera asked quietly. Frost's expression remained resolute. Now we build something better than what they destroyed at New Jakarta. Not revenge, but justice. Not domination, but cooperation. She looked up at the 7 high counselors, their luminous forms now dim with the fading of their authority. Any word from Ambassador Frost? She asked, still dark. But we received confirmation that Lazarus has been initiated. Vega turned to face the tactical display. The plan was audacious, perhaps insane. If successful, it would forever change humanity's place in the galaxy. If it failed, Earth might not survive the repercussions. Signal all ships, she ordered. Execute Phase 1. Across 3-star systems, human warships activated their translocation drives, technology the Galactic Council believed humans had not yet mastered. In perfect synchronization, the vessels vanished from their positions, bypassing traditional jump points and appearing simultaneously at 47 strategic locations throughout Council space. None fired a shot. They didn't need to. In the judgment chamber, Frost watched as the High Counselors reviewed her evidence. The mood had shifted from accusatory to increasingly nervous as more communications were revealed. Not just with the Mrekti, but with a dozen other species, all coordinating against humanity. Even if these communications are authentic, Counselor Vex-Her said, his luminous form dimmed with strain. They represent the actions of individuals, not council policy. Is that your defense? Frost asked quietly. That you weren't officially sanctioning genocide, merely allowing it to happen? Before Vex-Her could respond, an aide rushed to his side, whispering urgently. The counselor's form flickered with alarm. What have you done? He demanded, addressing Frost. I don't know what you mean, she replied innocently. Human warships have appeared throughout Council space at every major transit hub, alongside our primary defense platforms within weapons range of homeworlds. This is an act of war. Murmurs of fear spread through the chamber as representatives received similar reports. Not war, Frost corrected. Insurance. Not one of our ships has powered weapons. Not one has made any aggressive move. They are simply observing. She gestured to the human diplomatic corps members stationed throughout the chamber. Their silver cases now open to reveal sophisticated data terminals, just as we've been observing for years. Did you really think humanity would enter galactic society without taking precautions, without learning everything about potential threats? The terminals activated, projecting information throughout the chamber, detailed schematics of council defense systems, access codes to secure networks, surveillance of private council meetings. Humans excel at gathering intelligence, Frost continued. While you watched our ships and monitored our communications, we were mapping your weaknesses, your secrets, your lies. She stepped closer to the council dais. The new Jakarta massacre was your test, to see how we would respond to aggression. You expected us to lash out blindly, giving you justification for containment. Instead, we investigated. We gathered evidence. We prepared. Director Rivera joined her on the platform, his scarred face impassive as he surveyed the increasingly chaotic chamber. 2 million human lives, he said, voice carrying despite its softness. 2 million civilians who never threatened you, who simply had the misfortune of being human, a species you deemed too dangerous to allow free development. He activated his own wrist device, displaying new projections, the ruins of New Jakarta, bodies contorted in agony from the engineered pathogen that had been released by disguised Mrekti ships. We could have responded in kind, Rivera continued. We could have unleashed similar weapons on your worlds. Millions dead for millions dead. A terrible silence fell over the chamber, but that's what you expected, Frost added. What you planned for. The violent, emotional human response that would justify your next step, full military action against Earth. She smiled thinly. Instead, we chose a different path. What do you want? Asked Zevnar, his luminous form now pale with fear. Justice, Frost replied. Accountability. And a new understanding between humanity and the galaxy. She tapped her wrist device, transmitting new coordinates to the human fleet. You have 24 hours to acknowledge Council complicity in the attacks on human colonies and to agree to war crime tribunals for those responsible. If you refuse, we will not attack your worlds or your people. We are not the monsters you believe us to be. What then? Demanded Vex-Her. Frost's smile was cold. We'll simply release everything we know to every species in the galaxy. Every secret deal, every betrayal, every manipulation. The Council's authority is built on the illusion of impartiality. How long will that authority last when the truth is known? The representatives from the various worlds watched in stunned silence. Many had long suspected Council manipulation, but had never dared to speak openly. Now they saw the possibility of freedom from millennia of control. On the Retribution, Admiral Vega received new orders from Earth Command. The message was explicit. Maintain positions. Continue monitoring all Council communications, but take no hostile action unless directly attacked. They're backing down, Commander Dalton observed, watching the tactical display as Council defense platforms powered down weapons that had automatically targeted the human vessels. Not backing down. Vega corrected. Calculating. The Council has survived for thousands of years by adapting to threats. They're assessing their options, which are limited, Vega replied grimly. If they attack, we broadcast everything and the galaxy turns against them. If they admit guilt, they lose authority. If they ignore us, we broadcast everything anyway, Dalton finished. Vega nodded. Checkmate in 3 moves. Director Rivera's plan was elegant. In the judgment chamber, the Council had called for a recess to deliberate. The representatives remained, however, unwilling to leave as the most significant crisis in Council history unfolded. Do you really think they'll agree to tribunals? Rivera asked Frost quietly. No, she replied. Their entire existence is built on the myth of their infallibility. Admitting guilt would destroy that myth. So we release everything, Frost nodded, and watch as their carefully constructed authority crumbles. A commotion at the chamber entrance drew their attention. Council security forces were attempting to prevent the entry of a group of beings, representatives from worlds not granted Council recognition. The outsiders, Rivera observed. Civilizations the Council has kept isolated. Let them enter, Frost called, her voice cutting through the chamber. If this is truly a galactic assembly, then all voices should be heard. The security forces hesitated, looking to the empty Council dais for guidance. Finding none, they reluctantly stepped aside. The newcomers entered cautiously, beings from a dozen different species, all regarded as too primitive or too dangerous for full galactic citizenship. Welcome, Frost greeted them. Today everything changes. One of the newcomers, a tall insectoid being, approached Frost. We received your transmission. The evidence you've gathered, is it true? Has the Council been manipulating development throughout the galaxy? Yes, Frost replied simply. For millennia. The being's compound eyes flickered with emotion. Then we thank you. For centuries we've been told we weren't ready for full integration into galactic society. Now we understand why, Frost nodded. The Council feared competition, independent thought, challenge to their authority. As they feared you, the being observed. Yes. But they miscalculated. They believed humanity would react with blind rage to the massacre. Instead, you responded with calculated vengeance, the being finished. Perhaps the Council was right to fear you after all. And they've refused the tribunals. They're claiming Earth fabricated the evidence and deployed our fleet as a preemptive act of aggression. Rivera nodded, unsurprised. The Council had existed for millennia by never admitting weakness or wrongdoing. Implement Phase 3, he ordered. In orbit above New Geneva, the diplomatic vessel emissary activated its specialized communications array, technology reverse-engineered from captured Merekti ships. The array bypassed the Council's information control systems, broadcasting directly to every communication device in Council space. The message was simple. The truth. Unfiltered data began flowing to every species in the galaxy. Evidence of Council manipulation, records of genocides against potentially threatening emerging civilizations, secret agreements to contain or eliminate races that developed too quickly, centuries of lies exposed in an instant. In the judgment chamber, chaos erupted as representatives received the transmissions. Many fled, rushing to contact their homeworlds. Others turned on the Council members, demanding explanations. The carefully maintained order of millennia began unraveling. You've destroyed everything, Vex-Her accused Frost, his luminous form pulsing with rage. No, she replied calmly. We've freed the galaxy from your control. What happens next is up to each civilization to decide. Outside the chamber, revolution spread across Council space. Some worlds immediately withdrew from galactic governance. Others formed new alliances. Several launched attacks against former oppressors. The careful balance of power the Council had maintained collapsed within hours. On the UES Retribution, Admiral Vega received new orders. Maintain positions but do not engage unless attacked. Our role is observation, not intervention. She acknowledged the command, though part of her had hoped for a more direct confrontation. The victims of New Jakarta deserved justice, but perhaps this was a more fitting vengeance. The Council was destroyed not by human weapons, but by its own actions exposed to the light. In the ruins of New Jakarta, Director Rivera watched a holographic display of events unfolding across the galaxy. Beside him appeared a projection of Ambassador Frost, still in the council chamber. "It's working," she reported.
7 major systems have already called for trials of the High Counselors.
"The Mrekti hegemony is fracturing as subordinate species rebel. Any direct threats to Earth?" Rivera asked. "None yet. Most species are too busy with internal matters to worry about us. Our strategic position is holding." Rivera nodded, gazing at the empty buildings around him. "We should have been negotiating trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Instead, they forced us to become the architects of their destruction." "They never understood us," Frost replied. "They thought our defining characteristic was aggression. They never realized its adaptability. When threatened, humanity doesn't just fight back, it evolves. And now the galaxy evolves with us," Rivera said softly. "For better or worse." A sudden alert interrupted their conversation. Rivera's security team rushed forward, weapons drawn. "Director, we have incoming vessels," the team leader reported. 3 ships just entered atmosphere. Configuration unknown. Rivera checked his tactical display. Not council designs. Not Mrekti either. The ships descended toward the ruins, settling gently in what had once been the colony's central plaza. Their hulls were unfamiliar. Sleek organic curves unlike the angular council vessels or the utilitarian human ships. "Hold positions," Rivera ordered his security team. "No aggressive moves." The lead vessel's hull rippled, an opening forming in its side. A ramp extended and 3 beings emerged. Tall, slender figures with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with each movement. "Prisari," Rivera identified, surprise evident in his voice. "I thought they were extinct." "Not extinct," Frost replied through the hologram. "Contained. The Council classified them as too unpredictable for galactic society 3 centuries ago. They've been isolated in the Cygnus sector ever since." The lead Prisari approached Rivera, moving with fluid grace. Its skin shifted to a deep blue, a sign of formal greeting in their culture, Rivera recalled from the limited xenological data Earth possessed. "Director Rivera," the being spoke, its voice melodic. "I am Thalion, first speaker of the Prisari Conclave. We received your transmission? The truth about the Council." Rivera nodded cautiously. "How did you find us? This location isn't in any official records." "We've been watching," Thalion replied simply. "For decades, we've maintained covert observation of species beyond our containment zone. We saw what happened here. The massacre. The Council's attempt to eliminate another race they feared might challenge them." The Prisari's skin rippled, with patterns of deep crimson, symbolizing anger or indignation, as they once tried to eliminate us, Thalion continued. "But unlike humanity, we lacked the strength to resist. We were forced into isolation, our technology confiscated, our history rewritten in Council archives. Until today," Rivera said. Thalion's skin shifted to a vibrant green. "Hope." "Yes, today everything changes. We come to offer alliance, not just the Prisari, but 17 other contained species who have managed to maintain secret communication networks despite Council restrictions." In the Council chamber, Ambassador Frost watched as Councilor Vexher and the other High Counselors were detained by their own security forces, beings who had just learned how their leaders had manipulated and betrayed countless civilizations. "It appears your plan succeeded beyond expectations," observed an Arcani representative, a massive, 4-armed being whose species had long been considered one of the most loyal Council supporters. "Not my plan," Frost corrected. "Humanity's response. We've been preparing for this possibility since we first discovered evidence of Council involvement in the New Jakarta massacre." "You knew they would reject your ultimatum." Frost nodded. "The Council has existed too long, grown too arrogant to accept accountability. They believed they were untouchable." The Arcani made a gesture of acknowledgement. "And now? What does humanity want from the galaxy?" "Not dominance," Frost replied firmly. "Not control. We want what we've always wanted. The freedom to develop, to explore, to connect with other civilizations without manipulation or fear." In New Jakarta, Rivera listened as Thalion outlined the Prisari proposal, a new form of galactic cooperation, built on transparency and mutual respect rather than the hierarchical control the Council had maintained. "You're suggesting we replace the Council?" Rivera said cautiously. "No." Thalion's skin shifted to a thoughtful purple. "Not replace, transform. The structures exist, communication networks, trade routes, diplomatic channels. But the philosophy must change. Rivera considered this. Humanity has no desire to become the new council. Nor should you, Thalion agreed. No single species should hold such power. But humanity has done what no other could, broken the council's control. That gives you both opportunity and responsibility. Rivera's comm unit chimed with an incoming transmission from Admiral Vega. Director, Council military assets are standing down across all sectors. Several fleet commanders have already declared independence from Council authority. Maintain observation, Rivera ordered, but be prepared to assist any civilian populations caught in the crossfire of these changes. He turned back to Thalion. Your proposal has merit, but such decisions require broader input than just mine. Thalion's skin rippled with a pattern Rivera didn't recognize. Of course, we do not seek immediate commitment, only the beginning of dialogue. Rivera nodded, looking out over the ruins of New Jakarta, a monument to the Council's fear and cruelty. And perhaps now, the birthplace of something new. Ambassador Frost, now serving as Earth's first galactic envoy, addressed the assembly. We gathered today not to create another council, not to establish new rulers, but to forge a cooperative, a forum where all species may speak and be heard equally. The atmosphere was tense. Though many civilizations had welcomed the council's collapse, others remained wary of the humans who had orchestrated it. Earth's military continued to hold strategic positions throughout former council space, not firing a shot, but serving as a constant reminder of human capabilities. Humanity did not seek this role, Frost continued. We sought only justice for our murdered citizens. But having exposed the corruption at the heart of galactic governance, we accept our responsibility to help build something better. From the audience, a Tellarite representative rose. Pretty words, Ambassador. But your ships still surround our worlds. Your intelligence networks still monitor our communications. You speak of cooperation while maintaining the power to destroy us all. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Frost nodded. Your concerns are valid, which is why today humanity will take the first step toward true cooperation. She activated the central display, showing human warships across the galaxy powering down weapon systems, moving away from strategic positions. All human military forces are standing down and returning to Earth space, she announced. Our intelligence networks are being transitioned to transparent monitoring systems under joint species control. The chamber fell silent in surprise. We could maintain our advantage, Frost acknowledged. We could establish ourselves as the new power in the galaxy, but that was never our goal. Admiral Vega entered the chamber carrying a secure data module. She handed it to Frost, who placed it on the central podium. This contains all remaining classified intelligence gathered by Earth forces, including technologies the Council kept hidden from emerging civilizations. We offer it freely to all members of the new cooperative. The Tellarite representative approached cautiously. Why would you surrender such advantages? Because isolation breeds fear, and fear leads to what happened at New Jakarta, Frost replied. Humanity's rage has been spent. Now we choose a different path. Director Rivera joined them at the podium. The Massacres taught us what happens when advanced civilizations try to contain those they fear. We won't repeat that mistake. One by one, representatives approached the podium, some cautiously, others eagerly, to register their worlds as founding members of the Galactic Cooperative. Not all joined. Several former Council loyalists departed in protest, but enough remained to form the core of a new galactic order. As the ceremony concluded, Frost, Vega, and Rivera gathered in a private chamber overlooking Earth. Will it last? Vega asked, watching the diplomatic vessels departing for their homeworlds. Nothing lasts forever, Rivera replied, but we've created something more honest than what came before. Frost gazed at the stars beyond Earth. The Council feared what humanity might become. They never considered that their actions would determine what we became. And what are we now? Asked Vega. Frost smiled slightly. Still evolving. The galaxy has seen our rage. Now they'll see what humans can build when we're not fighting for survival. Their conversation was interrupted by an aide rushing into the chamber. Ambassador, we've received an emergency transmission from the Mrekti border. A refugee crisis is developing as former subject species flee Mrekti space. Frost exchanged glances with Rivera. The Mrekti hegemony had collapsed most dramatically, following the Council's fall, their military and political leadership, torn apart by revelations of their role in the New Jakarta massacre. Deploy humanitarian vessels, Frost ordered, and contact the Prasari Conclave. Their medical technology is best suited for the affected species. Already done, the aide replied. But there's more. We've detected Council pattern warships moving toward the refugee corridor, former Council loyalists who've rejected the cooperative. Rivera's expression darkened. They're going to attack the refugees, make an example of those who've broken from Council control. Admiral, Frost turned to Vega. How quickly can our nearest battle group reach that sector? 6 hours at maximum translocation speed, Vega replied. But the refugee ships will be intercepted in 3. Frost considered for a moment. Contact the Arcani defense fleet. Their forces are closer, and they've been looking for a way to demonstrate their commitment to the cooperative. You're trusting them with this? Vega asked, surprise evident in her voice. The Arcani had been among the Council's strongest supporters for centuries. Trust begins somewhere, Frost replied. The Arcani were as deceived by the Council as anyone. Their representative told me they've been seeking atonement for their role in enforcing Council policy. She turned to the aide. Send the Arcani the full tactical assessment and request immediate assistance for the refugees. Authorize them to use any means necessary to protect civilian lives. As the aide hurried away, Rivera studied Frost thoughtfully. This is the first real test of the cooperative. If the Arcani refuse to help or worse, join the loyalists, then we'll know where we stand, Frost finished. But I believe they'll act. The Council's fall has forced every species to re-examine their place in the galaxy. Many are eager to prove they're not what the Council made them. 3 hours later, they watched the tactical display as Arcani warships intercepted the Council loyalist fleet. The confrontation was brief. The loyalists, facing unexpected opposition from their former allies, retreated without engaging. The refugee ships continued safely toward cooperative space. A good sign, Vega acknowledged. Frost nodded. The first of many challenges we'll face. The Council's legacy won't be undone in months or even years. Rivera's comm unit signaled an incoming transmission from New Jakarta. Construction crews had finally returned to the site, beginning the long process of rebuilding. The memorial at the city center is complete, reported the project leader. And we've had an unexpected development. Volunteers from 16 different species have arrived, offering to help with reconstruction. 16? Rivera repeated, surprised. Yes, Director. Including a contingent of Mrekti dissidents, those who opposed the attack on the colony but were silenced by their government. Rivera exchanged glances with Frost. Accept all volunteers. This is exactly what the New Jakarta should represent. Cooperation across species. As night fell over Earth, Frost stood at the observation window of the diplomatic station, watching the lights of cities spread across the planet below. 6 months ago, those cities had prepared for possible extinction as humanity faced the Council's judgment. Now they were the administrative center of a new galactic order, one built on transparency and cooperation rather than manipulation and fear. Her reflection in the glass was joined by Thalion, the Prasari first speaker. Your thoughts, Ambassador? Asked Thalion, skin shifting to a curious yellow-green. Wondering if we've truly changed the galaxy, or merely replaced one power structure with another, Frost admitted. Thalion's skin rippled with thoughtful patterns. The difference lies not in structure but in intent. The Council sought control through fear. The cooperative seeks connection through understanding. And humanity's role in all this? Catalyst, Thalion replied simply. The spark that ignites transformation. Your species did what none other could, broke the cycle of fear the Council had maintained for millennia. Frost nodded slowly. The irony isn't lost on me. They feared our rage, our potential for violence. Yet in the end, our most powerful weapon wasn't our military but the truth. Truth wielded with precision, Thalion observed. Your strategy was elegantly brutal. A necessary response to genocide, Frost replied quietly. Indeed. And now, having demonstrated your power, you choose restraint. It is, say, unexpected. Frost smiled slightly. That's humanity's true strength, Thalion. Not our rage, but our capacity to move beyond it. To build rather than destroy. Below them, Earth continued its rotation, cities glittering like stars against the darkness. And beyond, Throughout the galaxy, civilizations long manipulated by the Council were taking their first steps toward genuine self-determination. The trembling of the galaxy wasn't from fear any longer, but from possibility, the uncertainty and hope of a new beginning. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 3.7